That was the first thought racing through my mind as the translator chimed softly in my ear and the words I had just spoken replayed themselves, perfectly rendered in the lilting tones of the Calarian language. Too perfectly.
Clear as day.
Impossible to misinterpret. Across the polished obsidian table, Ambassador Cyrexa of Keeler froze. The chamber itself was breathtaking, arched crystalline ribs overhead, bioluminescent vines tracing slow patterns of blue and gold along the walls. It was the heart of Calarian diplomacy, a place where wars had ended and alliances had been born. And now, apparently, where I had committed a catastrophic social blunder. I cleared my throat, suddenly aware of how loud my breathing sounded. That came out wrong, I said quickly, palms raised. On Earth, that phrase means something else. Cyrexa blinked her 4 silver-lashed eyes in unison. Her mandibles flexed slightly, a gesture I had learned could mean anything from amusement to outrage. The attending aide stiffened, crests flaring in warning hues. The translator hesitated before rendering her reply. You have stated, Cyrexa said slowly, that my facial markings resemble those of a juvenile broodling immediately before molting. I winced.
Yeah. See.
That's the problem. The day had started badly long before the meeting. I was Lieutenant Aaron Hale, Cultural Liaison for humanity's first permanent embassy to the Galactic Accord. My job was to smooth things over, explain human quirks, and prevent misunderstandings from escalating into interstellar incidents. Normally, that meant awkward dinners and endless paperwork, not accidentally comparing an alien ambassador to a shedding baby. But stress does strange things to the brain. We were on our 3rd straight week of negotiations over shared trade lanes. Sleep deprivation, recycled air, and a malfunctioning translator update had left me frayed. When Cyrexa entered the chamber, radiant in her ceremonial mantle, the bioluminescent patterns along her cheek plates had shifted in color. On Earth, I might have said, "You look different today," or even "that glow suits you." Instead, my exhausted brain reached for the closest analogy. And here we were. The silence stretched. I could feel the eyes of both delegations on me, weighing whether this was the moment humanity earned a formal reprimand, or worse. Then Cyrexa tilted her head. A juvenile broodling, she repeated, voice softer now. Explain. I swallowed and leaned forward, deciding honesty was my only option. On Earth, when someone's appearance changes, especially in a way that catches you off guard, we sometimes make comparisons without thinking. It wasn't meant to imply immaturity or molting. Her aides whispered among themselves, antennae flicking rapidly. I noticed one human officer discreetly burying his face in his datapad. Cyrexa studied me for a long moment. Her eyes were unreadable, reflecting the chamber lights like polished moons. You are aware, she said, that among my people, broodlings are regarded with profound reverence. I nodded.
Yes.
I've read the cultural briefings. I just forgot that in the moment. Another pause. Then, to my complete shock, Cyrex's mandibles curved upward. The translator chimed again. You find this amusing? It asked, uncertain. Cyrexa let out a sound that made several of her aides flinch. According to my briefings, it was laughter. Lieutenant Hale, she said, smiling fully now, you have inadvertently paid me a rare compliment. The room seemed to exhale. I blinked. What? In our culture, Cyrexa continued, a broodling before molting is considered a symbol of potential.
Growth.
Transformation. To resemble one is to be seen as standing on the threshold of change. She leaned back slightly, her mantle shifting to a warm amber glow. Few off-worlders ever notice the nuances of our markings. Fewer still comment on them. Your mistake suggests the tension. I felt heat rush to my face. I promise it wasn't that deep. She laughed again, softer this time. Perhaps not. But intent is not always required for truth to be spoken. The tension dissolved completely. Even the aides relaxed, their warning hues fading. The negotiations that followed went smoother than any we'd had before. Cyrexis spoke openly about Calarian concerns, even admitting internal disagreements, something their diplomats rarely did. In turn, I found myself less guarded, explaining humanity's fears, our history of being underestimated, and our determination to earn our place among the stars. At one point, she asked about human embarrassment rituals, and I had to explain blushing to an alien species that changed color at will. That earned another ripple of laughter. Hours later, as the chamber lights dimmed to signal the session's end, Cyrexis stood and approached me. "Lieutenant Hale," she said, "walk with me." I glanced at my superiors. A subtle nod gave me permission. We moved to a balcony overlooking the Calarian capital, a sprawling lattice of light and living architecture, humming with quiet energy. "You handled your mistake with humility," Cyrexis said. Many would have grown defensive. "I've learned that usually makes things worse," I replied, "especially in space." She regarded me thoughtfully. "Humanity is unusual. You stumble often, but you stand back up and you apologize when you fall on someone else." I smiled. "It's kind of our thing." Her eyes softened. "Because of today, I will recommend expanded cultural exchanges. More humans on Keeler, more Calarians on Earth." My breath caught. "That's huge." "Yes," she said. "All because you spoke without thinking, and then chose to listen." Later that night, alone in my quarters, I replayed the moment over and over. The mistake. The pause. The smile. Humanity had survived wars, plagues, and the crushing loneliness of space not because we were perfect, but because we adapted. Because when we made awkward, painful, sometimes humiliating mistakes, we owned them. We learned. We grew. Somewhere in the city below, an alien ambassador glowed with the colors of transformation. And for the first time since leaving Earth, I felt certain of something. Among the stars, being human, flawed, honest, and endlessly trying might just be our greatest strength.